Awesome. Well, in the interests of everyone's time, I think we'll go ahead and get started. A few notes, a few items of business. First off, I'm very grateful for everyone for coming this morning to the town hall on transfer. We're grateful for your time. We are grateful whether you're a student, whether you're a staff or faculty member, whether you're joining us from a community college or another institution in the state. In this webinar format, all participants are muted and you can place questions for us in the Q&A, not in the chat. We will be using the chat for something else, but the questions that are to the panelists can go in the chat. And as a note, you may have already heard this session is being recorded to post online. I'll be sharing the URL for that a bit later. As for myself, an introduction. I'm Megan McConnell. I'm director of CWU's new transfer center, which opened in February of 2020 this year. I'm so excited to be welcoming you all here. I've spent the majority of my career helping transfer students, first at the University of Washington and now here at CWU, and doing so is both an honor and a pleasure. It's also an honor and a pleasure to introduce you to our provost, Dr. Michelle DenBeste. Dr. DenBeste serves as the Provost and Vice President for Academic and Student Life at Central Washington University. She was formerly Dean of the College of Social Sciences at California State University, Fresno. As a Pacific Northwest native, she graduated with a BA in Russian and East European Studies from the University of Washington before completing her master's and PhD in history at Southern Illinois University. Her published research focuses on 19th century Russian women doctors, and her current research efforts explore the history of a reclusive Russian religious group, the Molokans, in California's Central Valley. Dr. DenBeste is an advocate for transfer students and was herself a transfer student, having spent her freshman year at St. Olaf College in Minnesota before heading to that purple and gold school across the mountains from us. Without further ado, Dr. DenBeste.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. And thank you so much for being here this morning. We hope that we can talk through the good things about transferring, answer questions about how to do it and what one should know. I hope that you all will know a lot more than I did as a transfer student. We know that transfer students bring a great deal of value added to college campuses. We know that transfer students are likely to be much more diverse in all sorts of ways. We know that transfer students are often much more successful having been a transfer student. They sort of ironed out the kinks earlier in their careers, and they very much usually know what they're doing when they get to the next institution. Transfer students don't fit the profile we think of when we think of the traditional college student, but I would say that that old-fashioned profile is rapidly changing. The way in which we think of college students is not so much the case anymore. So transfer students very much make up the fabric of what is a university campus. Someday when we all get to go back to a campus and see each other, it'll be more readily apparent than it is in this online world. But the online world does offer value for some of our students who it's hard to come to kind of a regular 2 o'clock in the afternoon class because they have a job or they have a family. So online can offer things for folks who can't do college the old-fashioned traditional way. So we know, though, that institutions have been slow in adapting to this kind of reality. We know that we don't always do the best possible things for our students, not on purpose. We really want you to be here, but we don't always show that. So I'm really grateful to Megan and the whole transfer team. We have a transfer center at CWU, and they're working hard both to help our transfer students in their experience, but also, and maybe more importantly, to educate the campus community about the ways in which transfer can be hard so that we can get better at making sure that transfer experience is as seamless as possible, that credits count, that transcripts are evaluated quickly, that you get the kind of advising that you need to get, and the kind of education that you want to get. Long time ago, back in the dark ages, when I transferred from a small private school to the big public school, it was not so seamless, but we also didn't talk about it. So it was just like, figure it out, people. And if you can't figure it out, then too bad, so sad. So I would say that it did not feel seamless at all. I lost pretty much a whole year. It took me 5 years to graduate. That was not all the institution's fault. I was a little indecisive about my courses as well. But things like classes not counting because they came from a different school, just difficulties figuring out financial aid, which I did not have and then later did have through changes in family circumstances. So we want to do better at that. We don't want to leave you hanging. If you are not as indecisive as I am and you would like to graduate in 4 years, we would like that to happen. So I would urge all of you to work really closely with the transfer team here at Central, with your academic advisors, with your professors. It is a big bureaucracy at any university. Having spent pretty much my entire life on college campuses, both big and small, I can attest to the fact that we really care about our students. It's not always immediately apparent when you ask questions. We would like that not to be the case, and we're working on it constantly. We don't do it on purpose, but it certainly happens as you go from one office to another, and those offices don't always communicate really well. So I would say the big advantage of having this greater diversity of students on campuses is that we are listening and we are getting better at it. But my takeaway for all of you is if you don't get an answer right away, please don't just give up. Let someone on the transfer team know what's going on, and we will get to your questions. Ideally, the questions don't come to me first, but if they do, I'll answer them. I won't just ignore you and send you away. Won't be offended that you contacted the provost. So welcome. Please feel like you are very much a part of the campus community in all sorts of ways. We know that our students are both on the Ellensburg campus and at our centers. And that too brings a great deal of diversity to our campuses that makes a much more interesting place to be for all of us. So thanks for your time. Look forward to questions.
Thank you so much, Provost DenBeste, and thank you for reminding us that we all play an important part in making sure that our student transfer experiences are friendly. My name is Lauren Loops. I'm the Lauren Hibbs, that's my old name. I'm the Executive Director of the University Centers around the state of Washington, and I have the pleasure of introducing two of our student panelists who are going to share their stories with us today. First is Brandon Wear-Grimm, who serves as the Executive Vice President of ASCWU, and also joining us is Ashley Sue Vizguerra, who is the Director of Student Life and Facilities. Ashley and Brandon, we're going to turn it over to you.
Ashley, do you want to go first, or?
Sure. All right. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background on my house, how I got from community college to Central, and how my journey's been through that process, and how I landed as Director for Student Life and Facilities. So before I went to Pierce College, which is in the west side of Washington, I graduated high school fully planning on going to a 4-year university. I applied for lots of colleges, and I got a scholarship to the University of Colorado. And right before I went to college, probably about a month and a half before college started, I freaked out. I didn't want to leave home, and I decided that I would just work my way up in a company and go that route. Over time, I ended up in banking, and I was working up in the banking world. And at 23, I realized that I was not happy with my life. I didn't like where it was going. I didn't actually like finance very much. And it was a huge wake-up call that maybe it was time to look into getting some kind of certificate. So that started my journey to a community college. I originally went to get a certificate in veterinary assistant. I did that for 1 quarter and realized I did not like actually working with animals, and immediately changed to a social service mental health certificate. I did that, got towards the end of that certificate, and my husband really encouraged me to go for my AA, since I was already at this point a year into college. So I decided to go for my AA. And while going for my AA, I also was working. I worked as a tutor for the writing center at Pierce College. So towards the end of my associates, I found out that I was expecting, and my husband and I were really excited. We had been trying for 6 years, which was definitely a hard thing to go through while in college, also doing fertility treatment. Something that a lot of non-traditional students get to experience is having a lot on your plate while you're in college. And I decided, you know what, maybe I'll go for my AA transfer just in case I ever want to get my bachelor's. I had no intention on ever going to a university, ever getting my bachelor's. At this point, I still felt like college was not for me. I was just the oddball that somehow landed in a college classroom. And got my AA transfer, graduated right before my son was born. Had my son 3 months later. I realized that as much as I love being home with him, I also was losing who I was as an individual. So I decided, you know what? I'll look into college. I'll see what, university is all about and just get a feel. I decided on Central because they had a location at Pierce College. I had had a little bit of communication with some of the people at Central through my job at the Writing Center. And that started my road to applying for Central. I was accepted and I thought, okay, I'll try 1 quarter. If I don't like it, I'll just drop out, not a big deal. So I started that quarter. I went to my orientation, and this is where things really changed for me as a student. At my orientation, for the first time, I actually put myself out there. I stopped trying to hide and be embarrassed about the fact that I was in my later 20s, that I was married, that I had a kid, that I wasn't fresh out of high school. And I actually started talking to other people. And through talking to other people, and I apologize, I'm getting my notes. Through talking to other people, I realized that the campus activities team was hiring, which works for student life. And I thought, that's fun. I own a business. I own a wedding and events business. And I thought, well, that's kind of right up my alley, like planning events. And so I took that opportunity, and it absolutely has changed my entire life. Through that position, I got to begin meeting people, and not just students, but also meeting people in administration that actually cared. And when I was in community college, I never once tried to reach out to any administration because I felt like the system wasn't meant for me. It wasn't meant to help somebody that is a fully functioning adult and can handle it on their own. And I realized that I needed help. And through reaching out to administration and putting myself out there, I began to build a support system around myself. In October of last year, I was invited to talk to the Board of Trustees at Central Washington University to represent transfer students. That made me very nervous, also out of my comfort zone. But when I went, I realized that some of the Board of Trustee members were shocked. They couldn't believe that I was married and had a toddler and owned a business and had a job and was still managing to have a great GPA and be fully invested in college. And I felt really encouraged by that I was doing something right, that this was possible. So then how did I end up as ASCWU? I found it by accident. I was actually on Instagram for my other job, Campus Activities, and I stumbled upon a president chat with the former president, Jasmine. And Mikhail, our current president, was encouraging people to run for director of student life and facilities, which is what he had done previously. And I thought, nah, that's not for me. I don't go to Ellensburg. I'm not young and vivacious. That's not a position for me. And my boss, Michelle, really encouraged me to go ahead and just try and apply. You know, what's the worst that can happen? Well, before I knew it, I was in the middle of debates and was running for this position. And while I was running, I realized that a lot of students, for the first time, were hearing their voices being heard, because they were hearing a woman with a child, with a marriage, with a career, being able to stand up in front of them and say, you know what, my voice matters, and I have a place here at this university, and I may be different, and I may have obstacles that another person may not have, but because of those obstacles, I have a story that's worth telling, and I have experiences that's going to bring value to the student body and to this university. And I was voted in. I landed in this position. And since I've been in this position, which focuses on student life, making sure that students' voices are being heard, and also facilities, so watching over current building projects and working on making sure that there's accessibility for students across campus, I now have the opportunity to be that voice for transfer students, for students that haven't been here the whole 4 years and know the in and out working of the bureaucracy. I just came into this, and also as a non-traditional student. And I'm very grateful for that. And so to end this, I just want to encourage you to, when you transfer, really look at how you can get involved. It's so scary, and it feels like you're putting yourself out there, like you're making yourself a target. But if once you build that support team, there is nothing that you cannot accomplish. So my house may be different or similar to yours, but you are here, you are showing up, you are facing challenges head on and obstacles that many students will never have to face. And you are important to the Wildcat family. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you so much, Ashley Sue. Brandon, can we hear from you as well?
Yeah, no, of course. I love hearing Ashley Sue's story, so I'm happy that she went first. For me, I was also a transfer, more of a traditional student transfer. Growing up, I grew up in Wenatchee High School, so I was on the east side versus the west side. So I've gone through Ellensburg plenty of times growing up, and really looking at Central. I was like, maybe I'll go there, but probably not, because when growing up living in Wenatchee, I was like, I'm going to the city. I'm going to the west side. So after high school, I took a year off to pursue sports. I was really into ski racing, so downhill, alpine. And so I took a year off to pursue that. But after skiing, I was still in that mindset of, I want to get out of here. I want to go experience what Seattle's like. So for me, I applied to UW Seattle, got in, and spent my freshman year there. And it was fun in its own way. I mean, being in the city, there's something that's always happening. And I was always kind of like excited to see all these different types of people and get to meet all these different types of people, as well as the social life. I used to be part of the Greek life there at UW. And so to me, the social life was really fun. But what was really hard for me while I was there was really just the school and kind of like that atmosphere. So for me, being at a big school, being in these lecture halls of 400, 500 students, it was hard for me to feel like there was any real buy-in from like the university or like, I guess, my professors and like my own future and my own career. So it was really hard for me to stay focused, let alone all the distractions I had going on outside of the classroom. And so for me, it was hard to stay engaged, and eventually like my grades started falling down, and I was starting to get upset with myself because I knew I could do better in school. And so after freshman year, I had to take like a long kind of hard look at myself and kind of realize what I wanted in school, and I guess what I wanted from a university, not just a social life. So over the summer, I decided to transfer to CWU. And really, to me, it was probably one of the greatest decisions / hardest decisions that I ever made, because coming here, I had to, I guess, go through the culture shock again of leaving UW, leaving my friends that I had in the Greek life to come here and live in the dorms where it was kind of quiet and be in Ellensburg and really adjust to that. And so that would probably be like one of the harder parts of my transfer story, was just getting back used to making new friends again and getting used to it. And so for me, initially, it was really hard for me to get out of my shell, because I was just like, all right, I'm here because I came here for school. But really, what happened was that I was just like, once I encouraged my own self to get out of my shell, similar to Ashley Sue, CWU opened up like tenfold to me. I mean, I got opportunities left and right that I would have gotten when I was at UW Seattle. I mean, for example, one thing that I did, just because I was like, I came here and I was like, I want to do something that I can do that I could never do anywhere else. And to me, that was student government. As a sophomore, I was like, one day I'm going to be in student government. And so the first step I had to do was like, I need to go meet people. I need to get involved and see what CWU was really about. And so I joined a committee on campus and got to, I guess, like meet new people that were, different majors, different years, different class standings, completely different walks of life. And from that, I was able to develop these relationships. And from there, I was pretty much got to like, I guess, use their network of connections, which led me to Jeff Rosenberry in student involvement, who led me to a job, he was also the advisor of student government. So that got me connected with student government. And from there, just a million opportunities and leadership opened up. And I really learned about myself coming here to CWU that I wouldn't have got anywhere else. Because people think you can go to the city and, you'll find out who you really are. But really coming here to CWU and just getting involved with, I guess, like our CWU community and the Ellensburg community was able to like give me something that I could only get here and really learn my true passions. And so eventually every door led to the next, and I was like able to gain the confidence to run for ASCWU. And through all my kind of like financial experience being in this, I guess, school of business, I was like, I want to run for vice president because I want to do the budgets. I want to know where the money's going, and I want to like represent the students in that way. And so running for that was also a big challenge, also being a transfer student, because I was like, oh man, there's going to be people that have been here for, an extra year than me, and they're going to have more friends, and it's all just kind of like a social thing. But really, CWU, it isn't exactly about that. What we're all about is just representing the students. And similar to Ashley Sue, it's if you're able to open up and show that you're passionate for others and passionate for other people's success, similar to what CWU's admin's like, that the students are here for that. And so what I would say, if you're transferring here, you're still considering it, is that CWU has this, I guess, sense of community that's here to really support you. And I think it's one of a kind. And so I really do encourage you to jump in, I guess, do like that huge head dive into anything you can get your hands on and really learn about yourself and about CWU. And I think from there, you'll be incredibly successful, learn more about yourself, and become, I guess, the greatest leader you can be. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you so much, Ashley, Sue, and Brandon. That was such an incredible example of your unique stories and how you persisted and have been so successful for CWU. We are so proud to call you Wildcats, and the example that you've set for not just your families, but your peers and others who are considering transferring and starting their journey in higher education. Before we get started, a quick question for both of you. How are students able to get involved and contribute to ASWU right now? What can they do?
You want to talk about committees, Brandon? I know you want to.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I guess I didn't really touch on it too, but it was like getting in, being a part of a committee and / a club was what opened a million doors to me. So what I would say on our website, so ascu.edu, or I guess like ASU slash like cu.edu on our website, or if you're just to Google ASCWU, you could go on and you could see on the left side of the webpage, you have the office of the vice president. And from there, we have a list of committees that still have vacancies that anyone could apply to. All we need really is like your email, your student ID, and you just answer a couple questions about why you want to get involved, what kind of past experience you have. It doesn't matter if you have any past experience, but we just want to know so we can get to know who you are and why you want to be involved with CWU. As well as we have clubs and orgs on there. And we have over 120 clubs. So if you have any unique hobby, I'm sure there's other CWU Wildcats that have the same, and there's a club out there for you. And if not, you can easily create a club from that website. And then also we have our ESC orgs, so our Equity and Services Council organizations. And so these are for all of our students that come from unique or have unique identities or come from different cultures and want to celebrate and learn more about those cultures. We have about 11 orgs on campus. And I strongly urge everyone to kind of check that out, because even if you're not a part of that culture or that identity, there's so much you can learn and just pretty much like, I guess, broaden your own scope, which could help you tenfold in the future, as well as like help us pursue our diverse and inclusivity mission.
Yeah, and I would add to that, never be afraid to reach out to any of us. Sometimes I think it feels a little bit like we're unreachable, but we're not. And our emails are always open. Our offices for our office hours are open. And we are there to support students. So never feel like you can't reach out and talk to us, even if it's a question that may not relate to our job description. It doesn't matter. We'll figure out who needs to talk to you, and we'll be there with you every step of the way. That's truly our goal with sitting in these positions, is just to be a support system.
I'm going to interject real quick. We've got a couple more questions for our panelists on the Q&A. But first, I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that this year ASCWU decided to do 2 senator positions that represent the transfer voice. So we've got Antoine, who I believe is at the Linwood campus, and Jamie, who's at the Ellensburg location. And they're also happy if people don't feel they have enough time to get very involved, but at least want to express their wishes. That those folks have open ears, and I actually think they're on the call today. So I put the ASCWU link in the chat to all panelists and attendees. There's also a question about, is there a minimum GPA to be involved in ASCWU? Either of you?
So this year, just because of COVID and how everything's a little bit different and kind of like the barriers, we don't have any GPA requirement. But moving forward, once we find the new normal, it is usually a 2.5 GPA just to get involved with a committee or be kind of, I guess, like a fully authorized club member. So if you want to be an officer in a club, you need at least a 2.5 GPA. And then if you also want to be, I guess, an officer within an organization, you need a 2.5 GPA.
And then the clubs to join, is that off of that ASCWU website that I just posted? You have to be careful about posting to either all panelists or all panelists and attendees in the Zoom webinar. Is that where they can find clubs to join?
Yeah, and I'll do, I guess, like a more specific link as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so it gives so from this one, you can go to our presence then, which is our, I guess, the new portal for all clubs.
Portal. Okay. I know that we have a bit more information to provide, but I think we'll do one more question from the Q&A. And that one is directed at Ashley Sue from an attendee who says they also have kids and go to school. How do you balance family and college?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Definitely a lot of organization. I have a planner in every bag, on every app on my phone. It's a lot of organization, but also grace. It's a lot of grace. It's allowing myself sometimes to drop the ball on either an assignment or maybe forgetting to bring graham crackers to my son's school, which happened this week. So just a lot of grace, patience, and making sure that I'm surrounding myself with support. I'm very blessed to have a family and a husband that is very supportive, but also the community around me at work and at school.
Thank you so much again to both of our wonderful AFCW students. We're going to go ahead and transition to part of a presentation to share some wonderful transfer information with you all. But before we do that, we want to take a split moment to honor each of you who are transfer students. So I ask, if you were a transfer student, go ahead in the chat box, go ahead and do #ITransferred. Or if you want to share, you can share the institutions, because there may be multiple, that you attended prior to your final destination. We're going to go ahead and give a minute or so for folks to be able to share that information. #ITransferred. Well, thank you all. Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, Megan, they're saying they can't see chat comments. I will tell you, I'm seeing here Green River, Spokane Falls, San Diego, Southwestern Community College. I see Yakima Valley Community College, Clark College. I'm seeing a lot of our Washington Community College partners and even some out of states as well. So it's very exciting to see.
And I'm asking Frank, the technical expert, about how to show chat. I didn't realize it wasn't visible.
It can't be shown,
It can't be shown.
not in webinars.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that out loud, Lauren.
I'll read the final one here because this is reflective of many of our students at Central. It says, I attended 4 institutions during undergraduate and eventually graduated from UCI. We found that many of our students, it's called swirl. They go to multiple institutions, typically around 2 to 3 before they land at their final 4-year institution. It's not at all uncommon. So thank you all for sharing that. And it's so great to have a community for those who've experienced transfer themselves, so they have both the technical and empathetic skills to understand what our students are experiencing. I have the honor today to talk a little bit about our university centers. And for those of you that don't know, the university centers started in the 1970s as institutions for time and place-bound students to be able to achieve a 4-year degree. At current, we serve about 1,500 students. We call them our neo-traditional students. They're much like Ashley, Sue, and Brandon, and many others. Our average age this year, it's typically between 24 and 26, but we really see a gamut between 17 and 82. It's a very wide range of population. We can't say that there is a unique profile for a transfer student. Every transfer student is unique. And that's one of the reasons that we love our work so much, is that there is significant cultural identity, race, and ethnic diversity. And it really does enrich our learning experience both inside and outside the classroom. And I want to point out that many of the experiences that Ashley and Brandon talk about were outside of the classroom. It was those extracurricular and co-curricular and peer connections that really helped them to be able to blossom and succeed and to persevere. And during COVID and anytime even beyond, what we know is that relationships matter, that having a mentor, I heard Brandon say Jeff Rosenberry, I heard Ashley Sue say Michelle Cook, having a mentor and a connection, we know that that makes a difference, not just for you, but for your peers and for your family and your communities at large. And I challenge you all to be able to build those connections with others as well. In addition to our university centers that are around the state, we are located at CW Linwood, CW Des Moines, CW Pierce County, CW Joint Base Lewis McCord, shout out to Pierce for Ashley Sue. We also have 3 campuses on the east side at Yakima, Moses Lake, and Wenatchee. We, as we shared, serve an adult learner population, highly diverse. Many are working, many have children. The majority, about 66%, are females. We have 120 active service or veterans or dependent, 121 international students, and we work with all 34 of Washington State's community and technical colleges. I'll leave a little bit more of our information about our centers to Megan to be able to share what percentage of CWU students come from these 6 host community college locations, but I'll hint that it's a significant number. Before moving on to another part of our presentation, I just want to share a thought with you all. And that is that our university centers, they do bring a great richness in identity, cultural diversity, and inclusion. But it's not just for the individual, it's really for a family and a community. When we think about the power that education has, it's lifelong. It's not just a credential, it's a mindset. It changes who you are at the very core, and you can never be the same. You're never who you were before when that education changes you. And Ashley was able to talk about some of the influence that it's had on her personal life. And we know from the research that college graduates are healthier, they have a higher living earning wage, and they're able to influence their communities in entirely different ways. And that's what the university centers really aim to do, is to be able to have a larger impact on the state of Washington to provide education to those time and place bound students. It's been a significant part of our mission for nearly 50 years, and we're so grateful for the lives that it's been able to change. Megan, I'll go ahead and I will turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Lauren. So I did want to include some research. We are, of course, an academic institution. This was sort of a landmark study that was done back in 2015 by Jenkins and Fink. The data has been replicated since then, and it looks similar still, that nationally at the community colleges, around 80% of students intend to earn a bachelor's degree. If you look 5 years later, only 25% have successfully done so. And within 6 years of transferring, only 17% have earned that bachelor's degree that they sought. So there are clearly some significant barriers and challenges, both institutional and individual, societal. So the task of helping students transfer more effectively resides not exclusively with the 2-year schools and not exclusively with the individual. It's systemic, and the 4-year institutions play a large part. One of the things I was most excited about, there's a woman who's published her NSF-funded research recently that says the single biggest factor in a student's ultimate ability to transfer to the 4-year institution is contact with a faculty or staff member at the 4-year institution during the first year. So that is something that the CW Transfer Center seeks to enhance and try to get involved in. This slide here is national data. In Washington, we do quite a bit better than this. In fact, in Washington, we have one of the nation's strongest systems of community college. We also have a history of 2- and 4-year schools collaborating with one another that goes back 50 years. So our numbers are more like 86% of students at the community college intend to transfer and earn a bachelor's, and I think it's about 31% actually do. So that's one of the best in the country, but still a lot of work to be done. Here at CWU, these are our transfer students by the number. 4 in 10 of our students are transfer students. That's a big percentage, and if you're not feeling it in the classroom, that's something we really want to make our faculty aware of as well, that transfer students are everywhere. We have international transfer students, 332 of them. We have a significant percentage of our veteran students are transfer students. The vast majority arrive with junior standing, and their GPA goes up considerably. Their previous institution GPA compared to their GPA here goes up about 0.4. They're finally getting to study the stuff they want to study, and they bring a lot to the classroom. That outside of the classroom experience, their work experience, their leadership experience. Our average age is 26. You can see that the top transfer students by community college and by major are listed on this slide, and the asterisk schools are the ones where we have a co-located CW center. It is no surprise then that most of the top majors for transfer students are programs that offer an option at a center or online. A little bit more about the 40% who transferred. As I said before, most of them are upper division, so 85%. Demographically, we're about 50-50 white and non-white. Our transfer student, we just ran this number for fall 2020. The previous data that I showed was 19-20 academic year. But if you look at our transfer enrollment this quarter, 58% were in the Ellensburg campus, 24% were at our university centers, and 18% were online. And here's the biggie, 70% of those who transfer come from one of our 6 co-located community colleges, whether they transferred to the center, online, or Ellensburg. So our community college partners in those institutions are very integral to our success as an institution. And part of my charge and my goal is to work to establish stronger relationships with staff and faculty at those colleges so that we can really continue to serve that population well. A little bit about the CW Transfer Center. We are here to support the successful transfer, persistence, and graduation of transfer students, focusing on facilitating seamless pathways among and within institutions to support transfer students at all stages of transitioning into the university. So that goes from the preparation stage where someone is first maybe thinking, well, maybe not just a certificate, maybe a bachelor's degree. What do I need to know to find out more? How am I going to finance this? What's the living situation like? So not just the academic component, but the whole student experience component. Then so that's the preparation stage. The progressions, the transition stage focuses on sort of onboarding, acculturating and acclimating, not just orientation, but Wildcat Welcome Week and the first couple of quarters. We know that eventually our transfer students will feel very proud of their identities as a Wildcat and as a biology major or whatever it is. But initially, they sometimes feel a little lost that they've done college before, but they haven't done CWU before. So we aim to help with that transition. And then there's the progression, sort of fostering a community of transfer students, a pride of their background, and a place for them to call home. This currently is our staff. I'm the director, and I have 2 wonderful peer ambassadors, Nate Rawson and Angela Kyle. So these are some of the things that we've been doing. We're happy this quarter to be offering peer mentoring appointments. We're doing those remotely right now, and you can book an appointment on our website. Angela has done a great job with our social media. Actually, I wanted to take a quick step before I go to social media and see whether there was anything in the Q&A. And I'm worried that when I hit it, I'll share that screen. Nope, I think we're good. Okay. So come on, there we go. So Angela is our social media maven. We have an Instagram contest that we're announcing this morning and that we will have winners for on Friday. New transfer students were mailed this sticker at the start of the quarter. Wherever they were, we sent it to them in their welcome packet. We are asking that you snap a photo of yourself with your sticker someplace interesting and wonderful. If you don't have a sticker, if it got lost somewhere, a photo of yourself with any CW swag will do. And then you want to share your photo with our Instagram page and with the National Transfer Student hashtag as well, hashtag Transfer Student Week. Gosh, I hope I'm saying this right. I am not the right generation for this. Then we want you to also tag CW Transfer and your previous college, because we get more shares if you tag your previous college as well. And Friday at noon, we'll be announcing our winner, and we've got some great CW swag to send you in the mail. We wish we could do a big celebration at each of our locations, but of course, COVID had other plans. Finally, and I'm going to drop this in the chat, this is the first of 17, I think, events this week. We're watching a movie together tonight. We've got trivia Wednesday night. I think it's Wednesday night. We've got some academic. We want to throw open the door to both prospective students and current students, connect to research. If you're uncertain about career, if you want to learn how to use your military benefits, we have a workshop for that. Let me see the chat here. Okay, my screen is not cooperating. I will stop share just a moment to put it in the chat. And nope, that wasn't it. That's the ASCW. I thought I copied it more recently. So we're encouraging you to come, turn out, join us at any stage of the transfer process that you are. We'll be posting recordings if you're time sensitive and you've got a work shift that conflicts with something that you'd like to attend. We will be posting those recordings, probably not same day, but eventually we'll get them up there. And we really want to, this is just the start of an amazing week for our campus, and we're very excited to welcome you. Together, let's thrive through transfer. Thank you very much. That's the end.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
There's a question in the Q&A.
Oh, thanks, Frank. There's a great question. So the out-of-state population of students that are from California, Oregon, Colorado, et cetera, I don't have that current data. Lauren, do you have a sense?
It's pretty small. Most of our students are coming locally from Washington. I'd estimate it'd be between 5 and 10%, maybe less. It does change year to year. When we looked at the data for this year, most of our transfers that we saw were from institutions that were located in Washington.
Oh. We've got one other thought, that most grad students take at least one community college or have an associate's degree. I did not know that. That's a great fact to know. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll hang out and answer any individual questions, but everyone have a great day and enjoy the week.
There's another question in the Q&A.
Oh, scholarships for transfer students. That's a great question. So we have some merit scholarships for transfer students. And in fact, the way I get there, people have mixed opinions about whether we should use Google with CW websites, but I Google CW scholarships, which has merit scholarships. So there is a threshold GPA at the centers, and it's different for the threshold GPA for the Ellensburg campus, 3.25 at the centers and online, 3.5 at the Ellensburg location. And that would get you considered for, or not just considered, that would give you $1,000 tuition waiver as long as you confirm your enrollment in a timely fashion. I think it's May 1 or June 1, and I'm forgetting which one. Then there is Scholarship Central, and students do not have to be a CW active student to fill that application out. As long as you're an applicant, you can fill that out. It's one application to be considered for 340 different scholarships. And starting this coming fall of 2021, Lauren and I worked together with a team of our colleagues to propose a tuition waiver for students coming from one of our co-located community colleges. If you're Pell eligible and your Pell doesn't cover your full amount, we can award you up to $1,300 of additional tuition waiver to try to make sure that at least your tuition is covered to come to CW. And those are apportioned out to the centers online and the Ellensburg campus in a certain format. Contact me for more information about that one, and I can get into the details. Right, Kathy Nasons, thank you. Scholarship Central opens November 1st for the fall 2021 academic year, and then it will the priority it closes March 1. Yes. Lauren, would you like to handle the cost question online?
I don't see the question. I'm not.
Okay. Is there a difference between online and not online tuition costs?
There were previously course fees for online courses. Those have changed in the COVID era. Tuition is the base, same, whether you're online in Ellensburg or the university centers. These are state allocated tuition costs, so they do not vary.
The Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen, Lauren.
I know, I didn't see it in my Q&A, Frank. I'm looking at the opened, answer, dismissed. Maybe I don't see it. I also see from Angela Kyle, a huge thank you to Ashley Sue for sharing your story. It's so nice to know I'm not the only one on this path.
There's a question, can I apply any quarter for CW or just in the spring or fall? Yes, we accept applications all 4 quarters of the year. And we accept applications on a rolling basis. So while there is a priority deadline, we routinely accept students that have applied after that deadline as well. So in fact, we're still processing applications for winter quarter.
Mhm.
Do you have to send in high school transcripts if you're a transfer student from a college? Good question. So we often encourage you to do that. The central factors that we'll be looking at is just the transfer. The research shows that the likely indicators of success come from the most recent, the transfer rather than the high school. But we sometimes need that high school transcript to substantiate that you've met the GURs, the main admission requirements. I'm blanking on the word right now, that says you have a certain number of years of English, certain number of years of math, etc. And in fact, we also sometimes students don't take foreign language at the community college, and we will find the foreign language off the high school transcript. So it's often a good idea to include your high school transcript, even if it's not strictly required, or sometimes the admissions office will ask for it.
Megan, can you clarify if a high school transcript is required if they have 40 credits?
It is not required if they have more than 40 credits, but again, it's sometimes asked for other reasons. Yeah, not that we have to have it to admit them, but that we have to have it in order to grant them credit for certain things.
Gotcha. Degree checkout requirements.
Yes, degree checkout. Then there is the question about what to major in. I'm not sure what to major in. Where should I look? That's a really great question. If you're if you're already enrolled, I would say exploratory advising if you're a current transfer student. If you're at the community college, that's what advisors at the community college really specialize in, is helping students get connected to a major. So career services often, or academic advising, either one can be a good start for that question. Our career services office also offers a host of sort of tests that like the strong interest inventory that get to the question of what should I major in. But yeah, so that's what I would, here in Ellensburg, I would say exploratory advising or career services can both weigh in on that. And then at the community college would be the same sorts of resources. And it's very typical. I don't worry at all about a student who doesn't know yet what they want to major in. Very normal to go through a host of different questions and answers. And that to me is a really good sign that you're being open to the person you might be becoming, as well as the fact that you don't know everything about the world yet. So, so that humility and grace that Ashley talked a little bit about, right? Like giving yourself some grace to say, I'm not sure what it is that I want to do yet. And that's why the general education questions, the general education requirements are set up sort of the way they are. Why is your hand raised for a reason? Is my hand raised? Okay.
Another great opportunity I see here.
No, Joshua has his hand raised, and I was wondering what he wants.
Megan, just to highlight, the major fair is happening tomorrow from 2 to 4 for all incoming transfer students, where they can learn more about each of the academic majors that are available here at Central.
That is a wonderful suggestion. Thank you, anonymous attendee. We have a student who's a global studies theology major at the current school looking to transfer to CWU. So that's an interesting question, and I don't know that I'm the best expert to answer that. I don't know if anyone else
put something in there for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That I know of, there's not a specifically same named degree for that. However, interdisciplinary studies, which is what my major is a wonderful option. It allows you to really customize what you're learning and you can choose from sociology, anthropology, psychology, geology, anything really. And so that's definitely something I'd look into, especially if you're wanting to expand on your foundation of what you've already learned and maybe adding to it. So definitely look into interdisciplinary studies and talk to your advisor, and also attend any of the informational sessions about majors. But yeah, definitely look into it. Highly recommend. I love my program.
The Philosophy and Religious Studies department also does teach religion courses. Yeah. Other questions? Not sure when to start. Due to COVID, wait a year, question mark? That's an interesting question. I will tell you up front that our enrollments are only down slightly. About 80–85% of our classes at the Ellensburg location are offered virtually, and a small percentage in person. At the centers, we're following the mandate from the host community college. And so right now, all of those are online as well. I have 2 children that are enrolled in CW right now. Both of them are thriving in their online courses and never expected that. There's aspects to the class, each class online, that I think they appreciate in being online. I think it really depends. There are students for whom this is definitely not something that they're interested in doing during the COVID outbreak, but there's lots and lots of people who are. And here at the Ellensburg campus, we have about 1/3 of our typical residents living in the residence halls. So it's absolutely possible to start now, but because we start every quarter, you could start later as well, or you could try one online class first and see how you do with it, and then decide to go more after that. Anyone else want to weigh in on that question?
This is a wonderful time to be able to engage in education, to build connections that are outside of, the small spaces that we're kind of confined to and during the COVID era. I think Megan's suggestion about testing, with one class at a time is a great one. We also have other opportunities for you to be able to get engaged that are co-curricular and extracurricular as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's another way to be able to have an entry point to be able to meet with some peers or some faculty or staff, we welcome you to do that as well.
Gosh, I almost made it through the whole hour without trying to talk with my mic muted. I think that given to everyone's the restrictions on time, we're going to take the one last question that's in the Q&A, and then we'll say good day. The question is, who do I contact if I want to look into the law and justice major? It does depend on what location you're interested in. We have different folks who advise for that program depending on where you are. I don't know if you can add to that and clarify which location you're looking at. The Ellensburg campus. So I believe that is going to be Arthur Mengeres. Am I right on that?
Might be Stoddard.
Is it what?
Might be Stoddard.
Oh, he's the chair, but the advisor, I think, is a good place to start. Let me just Google it. I tried to minimize the number of other tabs I had up during the presentation so I wouldn't accidentally share the wrong screen. So I have to pull some stuff up. Yeah, it's Arthur Mengeres, and I'll put his email address in the chat. right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Hi, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me.